You cannot even begin to talk about overcoming generational curses, overcoming generational limitations, generational hindrances, or yet alone, breaking generational cycles if you yourself have not gone through them. If you have not experienced it, then you have not overcome it. Because the definition of overcoming is to go over or to get over or to conquer something that has come your way. So if it has not come your way, then how have you conquered it? It has not come your way at all. So how have you conquered it? Okay, let me break it down this way. Okay, so what actually happens when you are facing a generational pass down is you will notice that it will happen to you exactly the same way that it happened to those before you. Whether you just heard about it or whether you were actually there to witness it, it will come to you in a similar way, but its venom will be worse. The impact on you will be worse. The situation it will find you in will be worse. Everything will be amplified. The reason for that is because you already have an advantage, because somebody before you has already gone through it. Somebody before you has already experienced it. And you have somehow heard about it. Therefore, you have that advantage of knowing or having some sort of an idea on how to maneuver through it. Therefore, God trusts you with more because you have more. Because you have heard about it, because you have heard how others maneuvered through it, you have seen the outcome of their decisions, of their attempts, of their, whatever it is that they tried. And therefore, you are viewed or considered as better informed, therefore better positioned. So you can, handle a little bit more than the one before you did because you have more, right? And so it will come at you harder, much more difficult, and you'll have it heavier. But you will feel and you will go through each stage. And the reason for that, firstly, God wants you to feel what they felt so that you can understand why they took the decisions that they took or why they maneuvered the way that they maneuvered, which will make you or enable you to, secondly, understand the grace that is upon your life. You see, grace, when it's upon your life, is hard to see or hard to fully weigh or measure its value, where you have nothing to compare it to. Now, when you are in a similar situation to what you have seen or heard someone else go through, and yet see how God picks you up, and yet see how God has made your feet like a deer's, that you touch the ground, but you touch it gently, and you don't feel the harshness of the situation. That enables you to see God's grace in its entirety. And so God is well aware that you cannot avoid what is coming your way. You don't get to choose the trials, the challenges, the mountains, the pass downs that you get from those before you. However, God has enabled you to change the outcome and thereby change the narrative. Now, for you to conquer, for you to survive what killed someone else, for you to thrive where you have seen those before you fail, for you to make it where others could not, that is where God is glorified. That is where the narrative is changed, because that is where the curse is broken, the cycle is broken, its power is nullified, and God's power is emphasized. And therefore, we go through these challenges, and you trusting God, despite the fact that you saw or heard someone else go through the exact same thing you are going through, having also trusted God and yet having failed, or yet having not survived, or yet having not made it, and yet you continue to trust God, says to God, boldly so, that you trust Him not based on what you've heard, not based on what you've seen, but based on who He is. that pleases God ever so much, because you are separating situations. You are separating other people's stories. You are separating other people's experiences from your own. And thereby you give God space. You give God the platform to be God. You give God an opportunity to change the narrative.